Coming up now on Animal Outtakes,
Part of the training is for us to learn how to read our dog.
we're taking a look back at some of our favorite stories. And we couldn't forget this one, which had us involved in the training of search and rescue dogs. And
So we give them as comfortable and natural an existence as we can.
this state park offers visitors not just breathtaking scenery, but up-close encounters with native Florida wildlife. That's right, this Florida State Park is the only one that acts as an animal sanctuary as well. We're taking a tour of this gem. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. There is no doubt in my mind that dogs are some of the most intelligent animals. Their ability and willingness to learn is incredible. We recently were able to get a special glimpse into the training of some extraordinary canines who are doing some exceptional things.
Okay guys, search op today, missing 21-year-old. We've set up a 5-mile area right here to search. This is the main trail that's over here. This is the secondary trail. This is Rock Creek that comes through here. And this is our cutover trail that comes back this way.
It all begins here for the Peace River Search and Rescue Team. A briefing of the mission ahead.
All right, get your dogs, let's get to work.
While the K9 team members don't understand the scenario, they do know it's time to do a job.
This is Morgan. He is a live find tracker. He finds the little boys and girls or men and women that are lost in the woods or
Well,
wherever.
he certainly is a lover, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is.
But he has a great nose.
The best.
The best, huh? Well, you want to show us what you're going to do? Do I get a kiss? Okay, go do your stuff.
Okay.
Today, Morgan's mission is to go on a mock rescue,
Scent. Hunt.
trying to locate Curtis, who is hiding off the trail and somewhere in this dense Florida brush.
He got a scent of what Curtis smells like. So now he's following Curtis's scent.
That's all it takes. A quick smell of Curtis's hat, and Morgan is off. The lead is tight, and that's how he lets his handler Mary know he's on to something. Mike, this is a most fascinating group
thanks.
that you have really started.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about it. These are all volunteers.
Yep, they're all come here because they want to do something for their community and they want to volunteer to give back. That's how I did it because I had a lot of experience and I was looking for a way to give back to my community, and so this is how I came up with Peace River.
And it doesn't take Morgan long. Winding through the bushes and palms, in no time, Morgan has found what he was searching for.
Yes, good boy. Good boy, buddy. That's a boy. Good job. Good job. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. And that's what he does. That's what they do. So he just tracks him all the way through the woods, and then he sat, which tells me that's the boy that was missing.
Base, this is K962, code 5.
What kind of hours are these volunteers putting in?
Well, last year was a banner year for us. We had 74 deployments in a year, which is unheard of for a Florida SAR team. And it was just because a lot of it's pushed by the drug culture right now. Drugs is awful with the meth and everything. A lot of people go missing because they're on drugs, and a lot of rage killings and things like that. So all of a sudden we just found ourselves going out a lot. And an average week, the team would be out 2-3 times during the week. And then even on the weekends, the cadaver dogs could be running 5 and 6 times a week. So,
Do they ever get tired?
well, the dogs don't, but I did. I can tell you that.
One dog that doesn't seem to quit, Mike's dog, Nixie. She's one of the oldest dogs on the team and a dog that doesn't know the term give up.
She's got 2 live finds and a bunch of cadaver finds, and she just refuses to retire.
Ready to go.
Yeah, I keep trying to retire her, but she won't. In a rescue for her, being live find, she has to find the person, and then she will come back and get me, jump on me, tell me that she found him and then take me back to the person. And we have to do that in Florida because we have tall grass, and we have palmettos, and we have swamps, and it's very hard to see the dog where they're at. So if the dog just went there and sat with them, we would never know where they were. So the dog has to do the other mission. Good girl. Oh yeah, she's in odor already, I can tell. Okay, you ready to get to work? You ready to go find? You gonna search? You gonna go search? So she's just gonna find any human being in this area. She's gonna find them and come back and tell me. So it's not specific to an odor. Tracking can be two different ways. We can do tracking scent specific, meaning if we have a scent article from the person, or we can do what we call a hot track, which is a human odor track, where they'll take the freshest track that they can get that's human, and they'll track that. We hope that's the person we're looking for, but we don't know. So that's, most law enforcement dogs are hot trackers. Most search and rescue dogs are scent specific trackers. So that's kind of how it's done. In this particular instance, doing area search, we use area search as a clearing mechanism. So we break these areas into sectors, and we're going to clear it and make sure there's nothing here and no one here. That helps us when we don't know a specific place where the person went into the woods, so we just start clearing through. We also use it for fire when they're going to do pre-burning in certain areas, and they want to make sure there's no campers, hikers in the area. They'll send the dogs in, and we'll make sure we clear everybody out, say, look, they're going to light this on fire, you need to go, and get them out of there. So there's basically the functions that we use them for, and in this behavior. Sit. You want to get to work? Are you ready to go back to work? All right, I guess so. All right, you ready? Search. And off we go.
While Nixie might be working off leash, Mike is always close by, and the other team members are keeping track of their location. GPS trackers can be found on Mike and on Nixie's collar. Do you work with other law enforcement groups?
We do. We have, this year we had 17 different law enforcement agencies that we worked with, ranging from the FBI, FDLE, down to local law enforcement.
And so I would imagine there's a mutual respect for both of the groups as you're working side by side to rescue somebody.
Yeah, we bring in assets. The nice thing that we do is we bring in highly trained assets. So these people come in and they know their job. So when they get out of the car, they get their dog geared up, or if they're just using the drone or they're just searching as a ground pounder, when they put their gear on, they know exactly what the job is and they can get to work right away. And that helps law enforcement a lot because they don't have the resources to do that. So what they do is we supply them as a force multiplier with all of a sudden here you've got 60 people who know their job and they're out there doing a good job.
Now, of course, the amazing thing is that you're using your own dogs versus law enforcement that actually has dogs that are trained. They're usually Belgian Malinois or German Shepherd. But we're seeing Chihuahuas, we're seeing Cavalier Spaniels here. Obviously, we have some Shepherds, we have some Labs. Is there an advantage for these mixed dogs to be doing this over the Sheps and the Belgian Malinois?
Well, the dogs that law enforcement get are the top of the line dogs. They go to the best kennels in the country and they'll spend anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for a dog. We don't have that kind of money. So we have to look at dogs that have talent and handlers that can be taught, and we teach them to be a team. And the reason that the pet works out really well for us is because they're part of the family. And this is all, the canine is a team sport. It's a human paired with a dog. It's not just the dog, you know, it's a team.
A team that works well together.
Oh, now see, she's sitting there.
They get the job done. Finding the mock missing person who we couldn't even see over the tall palmettos.
Good girl. How are you? Good girl. Oh, that's a good girl. Oh, that's so good. I didn't even know you were here. How are you? Let me check you out. How are you doing? All right. It's hurting me. Your leg's hurting you. That's because there's a dog sitting on you. That's why. That's a good girl.
We've all known a dog's sense of smell is remarkable and much different than ours. A lot more powerful. How powerful? If we were to take a dog's sense of smell and compare it to our vision, if we can see about 1/3 of a mile away, a dog can see more than 3,000 miles away. And that, of course, is on the lower scale of what their sniffers can do. Stay with us. More Animal Outtakes is straight ahead. You can be sure your furry friend continues to be loved and cared for in the best possible way, even when you can no longer be there for them. Dante's Den provides a permanent, loving home for dogs whose owners have set up a lifetime care program for their beloved companion. We honor the trust placed in us by providing loving care, spacious dens, healthy meals, on-site veterinary care, and plenty of room to run and play. For more information, go to dantesden.org or call 844-DANTES-DEN. Dante's Den, continuing the love. It's a park like no other in Florida. At the Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park, visitors can see native Florida animals in a natural setting. A spring is a natural opening in the ground that allows water to flow up from the aquifer below. At Homosassa Springs, the water is crystal clear and the temperature is consistent, 72 degrees year-round. And it's the water that attracts visitors and animals. This area of Homosassa Springs has been a tourist attraction since the early 1900s.
Now the water here, Susan, crystal clear, as clean and brilliant.
Yes.
This is part of the springs, is it not?
It certainly is. It's just the flow of the water. It keeps it nice and fresh and clear. The springs attracts all kinds of fish, manatees. The water is warm coming out of the spring and clean, and they come in to enjoy that, especially during the cold weather. We'll get like 100 or so manatees in here on a cold morning. Birds come in. It's like a centerpiece of
So
the
the
place.
springs were here first,
They were,
and then came the animals.
and even back when the Native Americans were here, they lived around the spring, and they fished, and it supplied what they needed. And later, as the settlers moved in, they also appreciated the spring, and they had a walkway. They could get off the train and walk down and see the spring and marvel at it. So
What a marvelous place.
it is. It is. Everybody should come.
Now, this park dates back to how far?
The earliest attraction that was here was in the 1940s, and it was smaller, and then several different private owners had it.
And we should say that Ivan Tours was an animal trainer,
Yes.
and he worked between LA, Hollywood, and Florida.
Yes.
And he actually homed the animals here. They were snowbirds, weren't
That's
they?
right. And he had an arrangement with Bruce Norris, who owned the attraction then, to house the animals here during the winter months or when they weren't being used in the movies or on TV and so forth.
Eventually, the state of Florida purchased the land, and it became Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park.
We are here in this wonderful gem of a park, the Homosassa Springs State Wildlife Park.
Right.
It takes your breath away,
It does.
and it's a one of a kind. Tell us about what you do here that is so different than some of the other state parks that we have in the state of Florida.
Okay, we are the only state park, and there's like over 171, I think it's 174 now, state parks in Florida. We're the only one that has captive wildlife here. It's all native Florida wildlife, and it's not, none of the animals that you see here could survive in the wild. So we're sort of considered an assisted living facility for wildlife.
You're a sanctuary.
Yes, a sanctuary. I love that word. And they serve as ambassadors for their species. We try to give them the most natural conditions, habitats, food. We do animal enrichment with them to encourage their native natural behaviors and so forth, and to give them something to look forward to.
Most of the animal exhibits are situated along the springs, giving these residents an environment that closely mimics what they would have in the wild.
Oh, look
Look
at
at that. She's just showing off for you. Yeah.
It's the Florida manatees that is one of the biggest attractions here. These girls live around the main spring year-round. And with the underwater viewing area, visitors can see these big ladies up close without getting wet.
So Susan, we've got a pal here that's looking at us and peeking at us and just about as curious as we are with him. Is this a girl? Is this a boy? And how much does this creature weigh?
These are all girls that live here with us that are resident manatees because they don't want to encourage breeding of manatees in facilities. This one, and I can't see her mark, but it's one of our larger manatees, and probably 2,000 to 3,000 pounds.
We are truly in a fishbowl.
We are.
But you know, the manatees are just so fascinating and they're mystical and we love them. They look like such lovable creatures.
Yeah.
Why are we so enthralled with manatees?
They're such gentle creatures, and they're vegetarians, and so they're not at all aggressive in any way. They're just wonderful animals, and easy to watch, and they're curious. You can't dive here at our park, but if you're out with a dive shop in the river, they're so curious, they'll come right up to you.
But they are protected.
They are
and when
definitely protected
when we
in
do
here.
swim with the manatees, it's a don't touch,
Do not touch them.
be very quiet,
Yes.
don't upset them. But we so want to hug them. We want to get right up and squeeze them.
You'll have to buy one of our stuffed manatees.
Oh,
in the
okay,
gift
that's
shop,
how we
and
can
do
accomplish
that. But they're very gentle animals.
When the weather turns cold in Florida and the water temperature drops, these endangered mammals head to the springs throughout the state. During that time of year, this viewing area at Homosassa Springs will have hundreds of manatees who are in search of warmer water.
These are such gentle giants. We have come to love them and know them here in Florida, and a lot of people are learning about them. How do they fit into our ecosystem? And again, why is it so important that we protect these manatees?
I think it's extremely important because everything has a role in the ecosystem. Everything has, and other species rely upon the other species. So you can't take one thing out of it and not care about it. Even a mosquito has a role in the ecosystem, you know, so.
Are we winning the battle with keeping them safe?
We certainly are trying, and I hope so.
As the water continues to flow, you can't help but think how the springs connects us all and why preserving it is a necessity. Homosassa Springs is called a first magnitude spring, meaning it discharges a large amount of water, at least 100 cubic feet per second, or about 65 million gallons a day. When our feathered friends are in need of some help, there's a place that is strictly dedicated to birds. This sanctuary specializes in getting our feathered friends back to the wild. They evolved from dinosaurs and can be found just about everywhere on Earth, from deserts to mountains, from forests to your backyard. You can find a bird.
The Seaside Seabird Sanctuary is a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and our main mission is to rescue, rehabilitate, and sick, injured, and orphaned wild birds in the hopes of being able to release them back into the wild.
It's located in the small community of Indian Shores, a barrier island on the Gulf Coast of Florida. The sanctuary is a special treasure to the town.
We kind of function as two kind of entities. We have the rescue and rehabilitation part with our hospital that's on site, which on average we have on average about 3,000 birds per year admitted into the hospital. But on top of that, we're also unique as we're open to the public, almost like a zoo or any other attraction. Visitors can come in and actually view all the permanently disabled residents we have living at the facility that cannot be released due to whatever permanent injury they have. We currently right now have about 112 permanently disabled residents living on site that visitors can view. They range anywhere from the common backyard blue jays up to the great horned owls, to pelicans, to hawks, you name it. We have a fairly good example here, about 23 different species here.
Because of the sanctuary's location, they treat both seabirds and birds you would find inland too, and many that are just dropping by. Looking up in the trees, you'll see even more birds. But these are not being treated by the sanctuary. They're all wild.
This is their natural habitat. This is where they nest, right here on the beach in the trees. But the reason a lot of people just think that there's something about this place, that they come here, they flock here, or they're residents here, it's simply because we're sandwiched in between all these condos that have built up on the beaches. And it's taken away from the natural foliage, the trees, and their natural environment that they call home. So they're all here because this is their natural environment, and there's really no place suitable right around.
There is a shocking abundance of them, showing firsthand how development is one of the factors that has an impact on animals. And when it comes to those birds being treated here, 90% of the injuries are attributed to humans.
Keith, we're standing here in the hospital, and normally it's kind of a sad place, but these birds are making us happy, so you must be rehabilitating them. And so what do we see here in the hospital?
Sure. In here right now, we have a full capacity in this. The full capacity here in this hospital is several hundred birds we could treat inside here. We have cages we have about 121 cages just inside this hospital alone. Depending on the season, it would be very crowded in here. Right now, we're not quite into to busy season.
I have somebody peeking out over here, and we've got somebody taking their morning nap over here. And this guy over here, isn't he adorable? Yes, he's going to show off. He's going to say, okay, here's my wings. What happened to him?
This is a juvenile eastern brown pelican. So he's the pelicans that you see all over the place here. He is a younger one, and we tell that by his coloring. And this guy is in here. For example, he just came in. Somebody had brought him in, found him on one of the islands off the Intercoastal Waterway, and he was not very mobile. Just kind of a little, not completely lethargic, but just not moving around like he should have been. So she was worried about him. She brought him into us. We checked him out. He was dehydrated. At the beginning, when he first came in, we gave him fluids, subcutaneous fluids to make sure that to get him rehydrated, and we would do that up until at the point making sure he's drinking on his own and eating on his own, and we'll continue to monitor the weight. And as long as all that's fine and he's hydrated, his weight is where it should be, he's eating for himself and taking care of himself, then the next stage what we would do is we would take him out to our rehabilitation area where he would be in general population with other pelicans that we're rehabbing. And that's just to make sure that he is flying okay and we're confident that he can be released and take care of himself.
We hope you've enjoyed looking back at some of our favorite stories. Zeus and I will be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching.